The Senate spire of Valeth Prime glittered under the artificial sun, its crystalline walls rising like spears into the sky. Within its vast chamber, tiers of alien delegates watched with practiced indifference as a lone figure walked to the central dais. His gait was uneven, every step heavy with scars that even advanced medicine could not erase. Commander Koresh was old for his kind. The once gleaming scales across his jaw were dulled to a mottled gray, and one of his 4 eyes was clouded. The scars across his torso had not been hidden, he wore them openly as testimony. Silence spread through the chamber, as he placed a clawed hand on the railing and faced the Empire's ruling elite. "I have fought them," he said, his voice a rasp that echoed across the vaulted dome. "Humans!" The chamber stirred. Murmurs rippled between the rows of senators. The words still carry novelty, little more than a curiosity in official records. A minor species on a blue planet far from the Imperial core. Koresh raised his ruined arm. "I faced them when mercenaries from Earth sold their blades in the border wars. They were few, but the blood they spilled was more than any regiment I commanded could match. They bled us dry in tunnels and ruins, always fighting, never yielding." Laughter broke out from the chamber. A senator with a golden crest shook his head. "You mean the primitives who still burn chemical fuels? We are wasting session time with this." Koresh's jaw tightened. "I watched one of them drag himself across a battlefield with half his body gone, just to detonate charges under our armored line. He smiled as he died." Another wave of laughter. A delegate from the Sealer Collective sneered. "Exaggerations of an old soldier." Above them, in his elevated seat, Lord High Strategos Malachar Deeth leaned forward. His tall, armored frame gleamed under the chamber lights, every movement radiating command. He regarded Koresh with the cold amusement of a predator toying with prey. "You expect us to believe," Malachar said, his voice deep and resonant, "that a young species barely able to reach orbit could resist the fleets of the Empire? They will resist longer than you imagine," Koresh replied. His gaze swept the chamber. "You think in numbers. You think in fleets, in legions, in supply lines. They think in survival. They do not surrender. Not to cold, not to hunger, not to fire. And when you corner them, they become something worse than soldiers. They become hunters." A hush fell, uneasy, before Malachar broke it with a low chuckle. "A tale to frighten children." He rose, spreading his arms. "The Empire has crushed civilizations older and stronger than Earth. These humans," he spat the word, "will fall in days. We shall take their world as we have taken countless others." Koresh's claws dug into the railing. "If you march on Earth, you will not find conquest. You will find a graveyard." "Enough," Malachar snapped. He gestured to the Senate. "Let us put this to vote. The humans refuse tribute. They defied the Empire's authority. Shall we teach them the cost of insolence?" The chamber lit with assent. The vote passed without opposition. Malachar smiled, cold and certain. "So be it. The fleets depart within the cycle. Earth will kneel." Koresh stood in silence as the senators filed out. None looked at him. None heard the whisper he left behind. "They will fight you forever. And when you think you have won, then you will learn what war truly means." Thousands of light years away, the planet Earth turned slowly under a cold dawn. In orbit above, skeletal frames of defense stations glinted in the morning sun. Workers in pressurized suits moved across girders, welding plates into place. The stations were unfinished, but the crews worked without pause, knowing time was measured in days. Inside a command deck high above the planet, Colonel Elias Voss studied a tactical map hovering in blue light. The projection showed Earth's orbit, the fragile ring of defenses, and the vast empty gulf beyond where the Empire's armada would soon appear. His officers waited quietly as he paced. "They'll come with numbers," Elias said at last. His voice was low, steady, the tone of a man who had rehearsed this speech 100 times in his mind. "Numbers don't win wars. Will does." A young lieutenant shifted uneasily. "Sir, their fleet dwarfs ours. Even with the orbital cannons." Elias cut him off with a raised hand. "They'll underestimate us." That's our weapon. History is full of enemies who thought numbers meant victory. Ask the Mongols who faced the Mamluks. Ask the empire that marched into Russia's snow. Ask every invader who thought Earth would break. His gaze hardened. We come from a species that survived fire, famine, and endless war. We carry that legacy into the stars. And if they want this world, they'll have to choke on our bones to take it. The room was silent. Then Commander Reyes' scar across his cheek nodded once. Then we'll make them bleed, sir. Elias leaned over the projection, pointing to hidden defense nodes scattered across the asteroid belt. They think we're weak. We'll let them think it. When they draw close, when they sneer at our defenses, we strike. Every cannon, every railgun, every drone. We don't fight for victory, we fight to teach them a lesson they'll never forget. Reyes grinned. The kind of lesson written in wreckage. Elias allowed himself the smallest smile. Exactly. Let the galaxy laugh at Earth. Soon enough, they'll choke on it. Far above the Senate world, Malachar stood on the observation deck of his flagship, watching the stars wheel past as the fleet prepared to jump. Signal the Armada, he ordered. His subordinates bowed. The strategos turned his gaze toward the distant spiral arm where a pale blue dot awaited him. We will crush them quickly, he murmured, as though Koresh's words had never been spoken. And the galaxy will see the Empire's strength unbroken. Koresh left the Senate alone, the crowd parting around him as though his scars were contagion. Outside, the sky of Valeth Prime glowed with 1,000 ships assembling. He watched them with heavy eyes, his chest tight with memories he could never silence. You think victory is measured in battles, he whispered to the empty air. But war is measured in endurance. And no one endures like humans. The fleet vanished into the stars, and Koresh closed his remaining clear eye. Somewhere out there, a world prepared for its trial by fire. And the Empire had already lost. The void over Earth rippled as the Galactic Empire's fleet tore through space-time, emerging from the jump corridor in shimmering arcs of light. Dozens of warships appeared, their hulls bristling with weapons, banners of the Empire etched into their armored spines. The Armada stretched across the sky like a moving wall, dreadnoughts and cruisers blotting out starlight. On the bridge of his flagship, Lord High Strategos Malachar observed with pride. The vessel's panoramic viewport framed Earth below, a jewel of blue and green, fragile and unaware, or so he assumed. Around him, alien officers chuckled at sensor readings. Orbital defenses, minimal, one said. Primitive platforms, unfinished at that. Another added. Their signals are disorganized. Not even military-grade encryption. Malachar's lip curled into a smile. Then this will be swifter than I imagined. A junior officer dared a question. Shall we open with full bombardment, strategos? No, Malachar said, savoring his command. A demonstration strike first. Let them tremble before the storm. In Earth's Orbital Defense Command, alarms wailed as the enemy fleet registered on sensors. Colonel Elias Voss stood at the center of the operations pit, hands clasped behind his back. Around him, officers shouted status updates, their voices clipped and tense. Multiple capital ships detected. Enemy numbers at least 3 times our estimates. Orbital cannon arrays ready but untested, Colonel. Elias studied the projection blooming above the table. The Empire's ships formed into disciplined wedges, their confidence visible even in the cold geometry of fleet formations. He could almost hear them laughing. Hold fire, Elias said calmly. His voice cut through the noise. We wait. Commander Reyes stepped to his side. Sir, if we wait too long, they'll establish superiority. We need to thin them early. Elias shook his head. No. They expect fear. We give them silence. Let them think us weak until they lean closer. Reyes studied him for a beat, then nodded. A trap, then. A lesson, Elias corrected. They came to conquer. Let them choke on their own arrogance first. On Luna's gray surface, dust plumes rose as dropships descended. Empire troops deployed in gleaming armor, their columns marching across the barren plains toward abandoned human outposts. They expected no resistance, just a staging ground for the main assault. The first explosions proved them wrong. Hidden mines erupted under their armored walkers, tearing lines apart. From tunnels carved beneath ancient craters, squads of human marines surged, rifles barking. Camouflaged suits made them ghosts against the regolith. Ambush! An alien officer screamed over comms, but the frequency dissolved into static. Human hackers had already jammed their channels. Above the chaos, a voice cut into the aliens' helmets, speaking in their own language. A flat, emotionless broadcast. Leave now. You are not welcome on this moon. Panic spread. Units broke formation, disoriented by both the attack and the psychological intrusion. Human soldiers exploited the confusion, striking hard, vanishing into tunnels, reappearing in unexpected angles. Every shot was deliberate, every move coordinated. When the last of the Empire's first landing force retreated to their dropships, fewer than half had survived. The human dead numbered a fraction. Reports streamed back to Malakar's flagship. He read them with disbelief. Casualties on Luna, heavy. Enemy resistance, coordinated. He slammed a gauntlet fist on the console. Impossible. They are primitives. The officer swallowed hard. They fight differently, strategos. Not in lines. They strike from shadows, disrupt communications. Malakar's voice thundered. Then drown them in fire! Prepare for full planetary assault! On Earth, Elias watched the feeds of the skirmish with grim satisfaction. His soldiers' victory on Luna was a small one, but its weight was far greater. They underestimated us, Reyes said, a grin tugging at the corner of his scarred face. They still do, Elias replied. He leaned forward, voice dropping to a growl. And that is our blade. We will bleed them before they even realize they are cut. He turned to the communications officer. Patch me to the orbital guard. A holographic array of commanders flickered into view. Their faces bore the strain of sleepless nights, but their eyes sharpened at his presence. Brothers, sisters, Elias began. They came with arrogance. They think Earth is soft, fragile, easily broken. We will show them the truth. From tonight onward, every gun, every drone, every blade must be sharpened not for victory, but for memory. We will make them remember Earth as the rock they shattered themselves against. The officers saluted, voices rising in unison. For Earth! Far away, on Valeth Prime, Koresh sat alone in his quarters, the holofeed replaying images from Luna. The sight of armored aliens stumbling under human ambush stirred memories he had buried deep. He closed his good eye, whispering, I warned you. And still you laugh. The senators would see the report soon enough, but he already knew how they would respond. More ships. More soldiers. More arrogance. He remembered the human mercenary who had died with a smile. The Empire had not yet seen that smile on a million faces. The next day, the skies above Earth darkened. Malakar's fleet maneuvered into position, dreadnoughts forming a ring around the planet. Their engines blazed like false suns, casting shadows across continents. In the control deck of Earth's Defense Command, Elias stood with his officers. The tension in the air was electric, but his voice remained steady. This is what they wanted, he said, eyes fixed on the glowing projection of enemy formations. They want submission. They'll get defiance. When they descend, we will unleash everything. And when the smoke clears, they will know Earth is not a prize, it is a warning. Reyes chuckled darkly. A warning written in wreckage. Exactly, Elias said. Let them come. Tonight the galaxy will remember Earth. The night side of Earth burned with the glow of re-entry fire. Dozens of dropships fell through the atmosphere, streaks of flame across the sky. Above, the Empire's armada shifted into final assault formation, dreadnoughts spreading wide, carriers disgorging fighters like a swarm of metallic insects. The galaxy's most feared war machine had come to finish its conquest. On the bridge of his flagship, Lord High Strategos Malakar loomed over tactical displays. The blue sphere of Earth glimmered beneath him, so small compared to the strength he commanded. His voice carried the weight of inevitability. Begin planetary bombardment. By dawn, this world will kneel. In Earth Defense Command, alarms blared. Colonel Elias Voss stood at the center, face lit by red emergency lights. His eyes were fixed on the holographic projection of enemy fleets encircling Earth. They're overcommitting, Commander Reyes said beside him. All power focused forward. Exactly what we wanted, Elias replied. His tone was calm, steady, a rock in the storm. Signal all batteries. On my mark. The officers looked to him, waiting. Outside the viewport, the black of space was dotted with hundreds of enemy vessels, their silhouettes blotting out the stars. Elias whispered, almost to himself. Let them laugh now. Then, louder. Fire! The void erupted. From hidden emplacements across the asteroid belt, concealed cannons roared to life. Beams of plasma and slugs of magnetically accelerated metal slashed through the darkness, spearing into the Empire's forward lines. Entire cruisers buckled and broke, exploding in chains of fire. From Earth's shadow, stealth drones launched volleys of missiles, ripping through fighter screens before the aliens realized they were under attack. On the flagship's bridge, Malachar staggered as shockwaves rippled to reports. Multiple ships destroyed! Enemy weapons, impossible range! They were waiting for us! Malachar's fist slammed onto the console. Stabilize the line! Press forward! Do not yield to animals with toys! But the toys bit deep. Dropships that survived re-entry landed in ruined cities below. Empire soldiers poured into the streets, expecting collapse. Instead, shadows struck. Human infantry, hidden in collapsed towers, unleashed precise bursts. Mines buried in rubble shredded armored walkers. Sniper teams picked off officers before they could rally their troops. A squad of aliens advanced into an abandoned district, their scanners clear. Then a wall collapsed above them, releasing fire from concealed barrels. Every survivor fled screaming through alleys alive with gunfire. The streets of Earth had become a maze of death. At the front, Elias himself led the 22nd Orbital Infantry Division. He moved with purpose, rifle steady, issuing orders through grit and smoke. Push them into choke points. Collapse bridges. Don't fight their numbers, bleed them one cut at a time. Reyes, blasting through rubble with his squad, grinned as he keyed comms. Sir, I think they're starting to realize we're not primitives. Not yet, Elias answered, eyes cold. But they will. Above, the Empire's armada faltered. Their formations broke under the hidden battery's onslaught. In desperation, Malachar ordered orbital bombardment. Target their cities! Erase them! The flagship's gunners locked coordinates, preparing to unleash annihilation. But deep inside the Empire's systems, human cyber warriors were already waiting. They had slipped past firewalls hours earlier, invisible ghosts moving through alien code. Now they struck. Targeting arrays flickered. Coordinates scrambled. The flagship's main gun rotated, then fired directly into its own escort. A dreadnought vanished in an expanding cloud of fire. Shock rippled through the fleet as more cannons turned on friendly ships, systems hijacked by invisible hands. Panic spread. Officers shouted, trying to regain control. Malachar roared in fury. Find them! Purge them from our systems! But it was too late. His own fleet was tearing itself apart. On the ground, Elias's division pushed the enemy back step by step. Empire soldiers, unnerved by losses above and below, began to break. A captured alien officer screamed into his comms. They are everywhere! Every shadow, every street! Human loudspeakers blared across ruined districts, translating into alien tongues. This is our world! You do not belong here! The words struck deeper than bullets. Soldiers who had never known fear felt it coil in their chests. In orbit, chaos became collapse. Empire formations fractured, discipline lost. Commanders issued conflicting orders. Ships fled rather than burn under the crossfire of their own flagship. The once mighty armada that had entered Earth's skies like gods now scrambled in panic. Elias stood in the command pit, watching the feed of enemy ships breaking apart. He leaned forward, voice steady but filled with iron. Open channel. A comms officer nodded. Connected to all frequencies. Elias spoke into the void. This is Colonel Elias Voss of Earth. You came to conquer. You came to laugh. Now you leave in ashes. Tell your masters, humanity kneels to no one. On the flagship, Malakar's face twisted with rage. He refused to speak, refused to admit what had happened. His officers whispered of retreat. Some demanded withdrawal, others muttered mutiny. For the first time in his career, Malakar saw fear in his own command. The fleet pulled back in disorder, burning engines bright as they fled into jump corridors. Earth remained below, scarred but unbroken. On Valeth Prime, the Senate chamber sat in stunned silence as battle reports scrolled across towering screens. Thousands of ships lost. Troops routed. The Empire humbled by a single planet. No one spoke. In the shadows of the chamber, Koresh stood, his one clear eye reflecting the data. He whispered into the silence. Now you understand. This is humanity. At dawn, smoke drifted across shattered cities. Elias walked among his soldiers, the ruins around them lit by weak sunlight. Exhaustion weighed on every face, but their eyes burned with pride. Survivors saluted as he passed. Reyes joined him, helmet under one arm. They'll be back, he said quietly. Elias nodded. And we'll be ready. Next time, they won't come laughing. They'll come afraid. He looked up at the pale sky, where the scars of orbital battles still glimmered faintly. His voice was low, but it carried to those around him. We are humanity. We do not kneel.